Better get ready to.
There we go. Welcome along. If you're tuning in later, and I've actually got around to putting these up, one day I will. Welcome along. So last week we talked a bit about the thing that's just gone racing out of my head. We talked about rituals. I think yes.
Yeah.
Not. Though Rod wasn't here, I don't think. No, you were having your own ritual of your family dinner. That's right.
Trying to work out whether I was ritualing or traditionalizing things. Probably more tradition.
There you go. So I thought this week we'd look a bit at experiencing Jesus. Particularly, we've just come through Easter, and I guess some of the things that we did intentionally were aimed at how can we provide a space where people can encounter Jesus. So the most obvious of that is the Stations of the Cross. So at Holland Park, there were 14 stations around. Each station had a picture of part of that story of Jesus to the cross and to the tomb. Then a Bible reading that reflected that part of the story and a reflective activity. So it might have been making a cross out of paddle pop sticks or thinking about Peter denying Jesus and how have you been hurt by others, or have you hurt others and have you hurt Jesus, and writing on your prayer or confession on a tear, a piece of paper tear, not a tear trying to get it in. Getting a nail and reflecting on those sorts of things. So providing that space where people can do that. And I guess to some degree, the family service was an attempt at that. So starting in the church as normal with a song and then going out into the hall and thinking about the Last Supper and decorating placemats, and then going back into the church to reflect on Jesus on arrest and crucifixion and making paddle pop crosses. I wonder where I got that idea from. Then going outside into the courtyard and thinking about Jesus in the tomb and Holy Saturday and that doubt and wondering and lighting a candle for when you doubt and have questions, and then going back into the church to talk about resurrection and little plastic eggs with cotton wool and cress seeds, stuff like that. So that chance to sort of, how does this relate to God and relate to Jesus? Was there anything that you did, and Rod, you were busy in the kitchen, so you probably didn't engage much in Saturday night, and someone was a naughty boy and didn't do the Stations of the Cross, at least not while I was in the room. Was there anything that you engaged in across this weekend, or anything you've engaged in recently that was that moment of encountering Jesus, or something maybe you can think of in the past?
Rod's on mute.
Well, it's still on mute.
How to do that? That was to block out sniffles, whatever else. Can't say always, because it's often been different. The Thursday evening service, whether it's a Tenebrae service or like we did today, the mixture of the last Thursday, the mixture of the washing the feet and the aspect of the Last Supper. At other times we had done almost a Passover meal. So the Thursday night was a interesting quiet time to do it. What I found awkward on Thursday night was to walk away from the service knowing there was so much work by a number of people to clean up. I found that difficult.
Yep.
But I also knew that was a time that I needed to walk away from it.
Yep.
That was part of what that was all about, to leave us in that feeling of that things have gone dark, gone quiet, and we needed to not break that by saying, right, I'll grab those 6 chairs and blow those candles out and clean the windows down or whatever it is.
Yep.
So that was certainly one part of it. it's sad that I won't say it's a highlight, but sad that was a significant part of it. You're looking forward to that Sunday bit, or the progression through Saturday of how things are going to. And I didn't get down. You're correct. I didn't get down to Holland Park on Saturday. That was when I had planned to do it, because I thought that would be a little bit more significant, being that in between day.
That wasn't open on Saturday, so it's like you didn't try to go down there.
Sorry?
It wasn't there on Saturday. Oh, it was open the first
wasn't.
Saturday, but it wasn't open the second Saturday.
Ah, well, lucky I
lucky you didn't try to go down there. Could have gone down and gone
day I thought that was the perfect planning, because you had talked about years ago, or a number of years ago, having, why isn't the Good Friday service at 3 o'clock and things like that. And I thought this was your way of getting, well, being recorded, somebody else can hear me, your way of having this special Saturday activity to remind us of where we are. Oh, well.
Yes,
No,
the times were set by others, so it didn't happen by that. But that was interesting. I didn't know that I'd come up with that idea before, because I came up with that idea on the weekend. Like Jock and I had been talking about, going forward, how do we do Good Friday? Do we still try and do 4 services all at the same time? And I said, well, why don't we have a 3 o'clock service? Because that's when Jesus died. But apparently that wasn't a new thought. Well, that was a new thought for me, but apparently not.
No, you had talked about that some time ago.
There you go.
There you go. So just a good prompt for you. And that's why I thought the stations, or whether it's appropriate, but the Stations of the Cross on Saturday might be.
Yes. No, it is a good thing to do.
It's an awkward time when people are trying to buy the food, because the shops weren't open on Friday for Sunday, because they won't be open here and there. So all sorts of things are going on Saturday. But that's
I discovered that on Saturday morning.
Yes, well, we had to make sure we bought the food early so that we didn't get caught out for Saturday night. Yep.
Yes. And 2 things out of what you've just said, because that got me thinking. One, the Holy Saturday type stuff. It was nice on Sunday. I preached at Tarragindi before racing across to Holland Park, and Rosemary Vasquez just said to me, I've been meaning to tell you that last year I was at the Saturday thing, and I was the only sort of congregational member. Like Kylie and Ollie were there and Lynn was there, and she said, I got a lot out of it. I went home and I wrote, did a poem and everything, and I've been meaning to send it. So it's like, yay, someone got something out of it. Because sometimes I do these things and I wonder, is this just Richard's madness of deciding this is a good thing and everyone should do it, or is it helpful? The other thing I think is the interesting, like your reflection on the ending of the Maundy Thursday and going and not helping. And I think that's one of our struggles for finding space with Jesus, and that reflective stuff is our Protestant work ethic of going, there's work, I need to do it.
Yes.
And being silent, well, that's not work. So there surely is something else I should be doing, as opposed to sitting here in silence and making a wooden cross or whatever. So yes, we good for pointing out that challenge that we face, and well done for picking up it was a challenge and you needed to push through.
Yep. Did.
Oh, and I just made my screen not yellow.
Yes, good. I was wondering why you went from a red to a normal background color.
I don't know. I moved my hands and it went bing. Who knows? Kylie, did you get anything out of the weekend or in the past?
Yes. Yes. Actually, I've really enjoyed what we've been doing at home. Is that allowed to be talked about?
Sure.
We're doing a book where it's a chapter a night, and we do it after dinner while we're still sitting at the dinner table, and it's going through a boy's.
You could grab the book and show them.
Yes, I could.
Because I talked about it last week and I forgot to grab it to show them. So because it's right next to you, you could. There we go. Amon's Adventure.
Yeah. Right. So it's really cool because it's in story form, and it's he's going through all the things, like he's seeing Jesus, he's seeing Judas setting up. We don't know what's going to happen up next. Like, we know that Judas has said he's going to get his 30 silver pieces, And so each night, and then it gives a Bible verse. But because it puts it into a narrative, you're kind of in it, and you're like, oh yeah, yeah. So I've enjoyed that, and I did enjoy the Stations of the Cross a bit more this time because I was on my own, and it was a bit quieter, so that was always helpful. Yeah, it just goes through, and it goes through start to finish in like the 20 minutes or whatever it takes you to go through. So you're getting the big picture rather than bits and pieces. So yes, I think I liked both of those. And normally you do it on the Saturday, the Easter Saturday.
Yes.
This is the first year you haven't.
Okay.
And that's why when we were in Sydney, we got upset because we thought we'd missed it.
Although that was the week before. But anyway, yes.
Yeah, because you put it on. We thought it was only the week before, but yeah.
Okay. Yes. Cool. So, yeah, so I think, yeah, one of the pillars of Here to Stay is that encounter with Jesus. And so, yes, it can look like a whole heap of different things. So it might be that reflective story type, that reflective service of a Maundy Thursday. It can be a Stations of the Cross. It can be a story that you read through as a family, and being in there and connecting. Sometimes we've used in the evening service, and I've used with youth group, imaginative prayer, where you quieten yourself down and then try to imagine yourself inside the Bible story or another similar story, and encountering God in that way. So yes, I guess generally encountering God requires a calming down and quietening down, but it can look like many different things. So yeah, which of course is a challenge in our world because we're not good at quietening down and being still. We like to keep busy, and we have all this noise around us. So sometimes, yes, that removing of noise, I think even in the church, challenge for me as an introvert and as a musical person is allowing space for silence. As a musical person, and I've probably said this before, and you're going, he's going to tell this story again. As a musical person, so often people will say something in church and go, well, you're going to have a few minutes to reflect on that. There'll be this lovely piece of music playing while you reflect. And as a musical person, I'm now focusing on the music. I'm not focusing on whatever you just told me I need to reflect on. You put music there and that. So sometimes the musical introverts of us need just absolute silence, where you go, we're going to reflect on this and be silent. There's nothing to move on. And I guess sometimes we need the music there because some other people probably need the music to be able to reflect. And but yes, how do we find those balances? And yes, and then, yeah, I guess one of the things with Stations of the Cross is how do you find a bunch of different things? So at least one person said, it's really good, and there's at least one thing that will connect with someone. Like I said, I really struggle for someone to have gone around and not one of them to have connected. So yeah, it's again, sometimes when we're leading anybody in the church, but particularly because we think about young people, when we're leading young people, how do we think of different things that they can do to connect with God? Some of those we'll think, yes, I would connect with God with that. Others we'd go, well, that would never connect me with God, but would connect others. So, some of our boys brigade boys, you're going to think of what's a far more physical, active type thing that will help them to reflect with God as opposed to sitting there quietly. Can you imagine Joe or Jay, whichever one it is, sitting quietly meditating?
Yes. I think there's a few that would not be meditating while they're sitting there quietly. Yes.
No. Yes. Yes. So that's our challenge. But yes, so we as adults need to be finding that space, and we need to be providing that space for young people. And yes, again, sometimes that can be challenging because we think, oh, we need to have lots of noise and hype. And I think that's the challenge, particularly for youth ministry, is that, youth ministry sort of branded, people look for big hypes, noise, bands, whatever. And you need to find, how do we put in that space of quiet and silence and reflection So we've started trying to do that with our youth group, and we'll continue to try and do that, just providing that space of let's be still, be quiet, silent, listen to God.
So there's obviously a technique that I don't have of bringing somebody who isn't a quiet, doing nothing, sitting back, contemplating person into that mode. And as you said, some of the ways of taking it into prayer that we have done, where you talk through it, or set the scene. Are there other techniques to get that person, because it's a great experience once if once they've done it, to have done it differently from what they're used to doing?
Yep.
So is there various techniques? Obviously there are, that you can share with us, or later on share with us, that we can bring a whole group of boys or girls of various ages into a point where they are relaxed rather than wanting to fidget and wanting to go and do something else? Are there techniques that we should be looking at, finding that we can do that with? Because you don't want to bring half a group in, because if the other half's not there, then you lost the first half as well. And the secondary case would be you're only doing it to half and the other half's missing out, which is unfortunate.
Yep. So with imaginative prayer, there's sort of two slow down prayers that they have, and I tend to use the one that talks about focus on your breathing. The other one, so for those that haven't experienced it, who might be watching, it's that sense of just start to breathe deeply, focus on your breathing, and as you do that, after a bit of time, encourage them to think about breathing God's love in and breathing out those tensions. The other thing you can do is get them thinking about their body and thinking about their muscles and working through the different muscle groups, and tense the muscle and then relax it. Tense that muscle, relax it, which might be better for the more physical boys. Of tense your muscle, go and show off your abs, aren't you wonderful? Release it, and just that tension and then release just starts to calm down. The other thing is find a reflective thing that is active. So maybe it's get bubble blowing mixture, bubble blowers, and blow bubbles and reflect on how that might be God's spirit going out, or look at the light coming through, or pop the bubbles and think about whatever. So it might be something physical like that. It might be do handstands and think about how you have to rely on God, or you have to sort of step out in faith to do a handstand. Think about how that might be relying on God.
So a physical pop the bubbles and a physical handstand, or imagining that situation?
I do physical. Physically? Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And we found at youth group one week, we were trying to do a discussion, and one kid found the air clay. And so while Rich was talking, they were just molding with it. So they were using one sense of their hand, or not sense, but they were getting, instead of getting their verbal out, they were getting their physical out.
Yep.
So if you can use your hands or your feet, like I tell kids, wriggle your feet in your shoes, clasp your fingers and move your fingers, because we can't see it. It's not making noise to anyone else or distracting anyone else, but you're getting that physical movement out of you. Because telling some children sit still, they physically can't. And the more you tell them, the more they can't. The more the wriggles will come into them. So allow it, but you choose how they're going to wriggle. So you're in control of it. Instead of them thinking, I'm going to slam my hands around and I'm going to do this, give them something that's got to stay in there, like in their lap, not seen by others, but they're getting the movement out.
Yep. Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah. And that's a good point, Kylie. You can, how can you have something tactile that, the reflective of, and we were talking about this when last combined service, and there was the table groups and talking, and we were talking about how might we do with this with the kids. And of course, all the really young kids weren't there, so I didn't need to do it. But I had a whole heap of modelling clay, and it would have been, okay, model what you would like to see in church or something. That sense of, reflective, you might, fiddle with that and play with that while we have this reflective time. And you might mold it into something, you might not, you might just play with it. Grab a fidget toy and fiddle with that while we do this reflective thing. Can work too. Does that help, Rod?
Yep. Thank you.
Excellent.
It reminds me of video conferencing when I was at work. I used to have a big roll of blue tack that I could just model while I'm paying attention.
Absolutely.
But no one else could see the fact that I was rolling and turning and twisting or whatever it might be. Made the notes a bit hard to take, but otherwise it was good. Yep.
There you go.
Fair
So,
enough. Not just kids, it's adults as well.
that's right. And that might suggest think about the things that work for you and try it with the kids.
Yep.
Excellent. That's our time. We'll let Rod go off with the rest of his evening. We'll head off with the rest of our evening. Thank you for your wisdom and your questions and your thoughts. Thank you for anyone who might be watching this later, and we'll catch you again soon. Bye, everyone.
I hope you feel better, Rod.
Yes.
Thank you.